was shuffling my cards, and I had this one turn completely sideways in a neutral position while I was shuffling these ones, and I haven't looked at it yet. I just put it aside because I figured we would start there. Today has like a cleanup vibe. The sun is in Virgo now and the moon's in Aquarius. Maybe it could be a little tense. Collective might be noticing things maybe that they can't unsee and realizing what needs to change. The Aquarius moon near Pluto gives this detached, watchful vibe. So today might be like a calm before the storm or quiet before a bigger emotional release. But I think cleaning up is a good way to put it. You're mentally preparing, kind of just staring at some truths that you can't ignore anymore, or this is the person that you're here for. Let's look at any other energy. As I tried to pick these up, that one just naturally was left there. I guess we're gonna go with that 6. Moving forward, that goes with the vibe of what I was just talking about, which is fascinating because 6s are about moving forward, moving on, victory. We'll just start there, and since this one is at the top, we will go with that one as well. I did not place it there. I have already shuffled these, and this is what was left. Hi, I'm Jen. Thanks for being here. I'm your reader that you manifested, and this is Lady Tarot 911. All right, let's find out what's happening. Let's start out with the 6th then, because we just talked about that. Yes, it is Mercury, about communication, moving forward with communication. There have been reads prior, and all my reads are connected, where I do talk about the fact that there's going to be a revelation or truths or information. Now, I want to clarify for anybody who's new or maybe confused. When you hear a reader talk about communication, again, I'm telling you, communication can come in the form of your own mind, you communicating with yourself, communication outside yourself. It can come in the form of in a read, in a news article, in a social media post, in any type of wave of information that comes in, no matter how it comes in, is communication. Your body communicates with you in the way that you feel. It doesn't have to be necessarily outside you where communication is moving you forward. Now, speaking of the astrology that I just reviewed with you, that talked a lot about this watchful energy. Watchful is not taking action necessarily, but moving things within your own mind and emotions and head, and basically unlocking, kind of, I'm getting the sound of like undoing, but it's like a click, click, unlocking and moving out of something, a caged perception or a way of doing things, or something that you've been avoiding, that you haven't wanted to see. You can't avoid these feelings anymore. You can't avoid what you know to be true, or the person who you're here about. I value. It could be, and again, the way that I line my reads up naturally, I don't always think about it, but what's right in front of me in the center is usually currently what's going on. This is past, and then this is potentially upcoming future. However, we know that everything is all happening at the same time. I want to preface this by telling you that recently I had a very rock bottom moment in my life, but about 2 days later, it was the strangest, almost spiritual awakening type of moment, where I realized and I woke up to all the things that I have been like disillusioned to. And it was a huge switch. For me, this was an energetic switch from how I was perceiving things, questioning what is the purpose? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I here for? And then 2 days later, it was like this complete switch of, oh my God, I've been looking at all of this completely through the wrong lens. So this could be something to that effect. It could be in personal expression. What I learned through that situation that might help you is every single thing from the second we wake up, we perceive things. It's the reason that we create, essentially, like, I want to call it our own Truman Show. We choose the props, the colors, the costumes, the people who will play those roles in our lives. You think that everything is like happening to you, somebody else, another producer, another director outside of your movie that's putting your movie together. You are wrong, and that is the wrong perception. That's what changed within me. My movie, my Truman Show, and I'll tell you why I'm calling it the Truman Show. My Truman Show is because of the creation and the things I produce, write, direct, the costumes I choose, the people, the roles that I want to play in my life. Right now, it could be very well subconscious. As we know, 95% of our day-to-day routine is led by our subconscious, things that we don't really consciously understand why, but it's just running us. And so my subconscious could say to me today, Jen, I want you to learn this lesson. So subconsciously, these are the characters that you've heard of, NPCs, non-playing characters. These are the role players who are actually going to play a role in the lesson you learn. This is what you're going to see. This is how you're going to see it, how you're going to perceive it, what lessons you're going to learn out of it. And it's part of your subconscious knowing that you need that to grow. The reason I call it the Truman Show, and then I'll move on to pull some cards, is because the Truman Show was about, if you haven't seen it, about the I guess the perspective of ideologies and somebody, a whole crew, a whole, system that was running this human's life, and putting together a movie to make this person believe something that was maybe not true, or to run a life every day that wasn't his authentic life. And the reason that I'm calling this our Truman Show is because when you take those blinders off and you see that it is all perception, the Truman part of your own story and your own movie is your own mind. So your mind controls you through old narratives of when you couldn't think for yourself and you needed parents, teachers, community members, church leaders, whatever, to help you along your way. They put together a movie, your movie of your life, the way that they perceived their lives to be or life to play out. And so it put all these downloads into you to make you believe that that was your life, that that was your Truman Show. Does that make sense? And when you finally realize that that was old childhood narratives, downloads, cultural beliefs, parents who said, this is the way we do it and this is the only way you do it. We talked a lot about that. You wake up from that perception of what I am chasing, how I see life, how I see others, what has gone on in my life has actually not been me creating my own Truman Show. It's been somebody else, or it has been in my mind somebody else, and then switches, and it's like, well, I have control. I have control of my own movie. I needed those lessons to learn this big lesson about taking control of my life. So it wasn't in vain that those things, those childhood downloads were placed. It's just that moment when you wake up, and a lot of the collective are going to start waking up to this, and it might be very unfamiliar, very uncomfortable, very scary. I remember my awakening was very scary, but I hadn't even awoken to that point, because you have multiple awakenings. It's not just one and done. But I hadn't even awoken to that about perception. So this right here is this personal expression. Could very well be talking about the value you place in every single thing that you have, you do, you say, every action, every movement. What is it that you value that you're putting together, even subconsciously, to create your own Truman Show? Because I'll tell you, every one of us is experiencing the Truman Show. We are. It's just whether you figure out that the Truman part of it is your own mind and the downloads that have been placed in you. If you realize that those were there for a reason, but now it's time for you to realize that you actually have control, even if it's subconsciously. You have certain lessons that you need to learn. Your soul is going to put them into a storybook or into a movie accordingly to help you learn those lessons. Again, I don't know what this card is. Let's turn it over. Weighing options. So about choices and about balance and stability, but it is in a neutral position. So this could be what is unseen or what you can't avoid anymore is stability, maybe where you live, who you live with, regarding a job stability, regarding your own personal, emotional, mental, physical health stability, whether you need to go see a doctor and you're avoiding it, or in a relationship that you've been avoiding, maybe it's toxic and you've been avoiding actually moving away from it. But right now there's this instability of like that teeter-totter I was talking about, right? But through this energy, even though everything's happened in your movie already, it's just what scene that's going to be filmed today, because you can't film all of them at the same time. So the part of the movie that you're filming today could include just recently discovering what you value about yourself, because this is personal, what transformation or action you haven't taken because of the values you've had, which direction you truly want to go if you're unhappy, taking action or fantasy or thinking it's fantasy, taking action towards something in regards to your choice, weighing options, right? When we read this, take time to make decisions, stalemate situation. This could be stalemate for sure. It's in the neutral position. Either way, there's no decision being made. When no decision is being made, it's a no. Weighing options right now, it could be about anything that I mentioned or more. Just connect it where it connects with you. What is it that's currently filming today in your own Truman Show? Tell me more about maybe going a certain direction, maybe speaking your truth, getting past that fear of what would happen, because the fear is the unknown, what will happen, where it will take me, what it will lead me into, who will remain in my life. But we've been going through since June these energies of really like sifting out those who aren't good for us, who we know need to be removed from our life, who's pulling down our vibration, who's pulling down our energy, who is not helping us grow. So that popped up. We're gonna go with that. Being in the movement of contemplation, but maybe not physical 3D movement yet. It's still just kind of in that mulling over, just like I was talking about, that detached watchfulness. And you see, she's trying to size things up. Which way? Unknown, not sure. Do I take the risk? But this is hanging in the balance, is essentially what I would say. Right here, introverted, may feel controlled, takes on too much and cannot admit it. Avoiding being who you are, breaks promises, envious, lingers on the sidelines, needs to focus on rebuilding sense of self and be courageous. This is about self weighing in the balance. This is introverted or going within. Okay, What is it that you value? And it's like you're putting it together like a puzzle piece. You're taking that, you're weighing the options, and you're taking those options. If you're not going to self-sabotage, then that will ultimately, this will turn, right? This will kind of turn the wheel, and then you'll start learning about yourself. And as this turns, it will gain confidence through finally making a decision, because your decision will be your control over your life, and then moving towards a confident direction that you want to go in. And then if by chance it leads down this path, right, a combination of, basically, I'm thinking of a combination, maybe that's why I got that click, click sound, is because there's a combination on this safe. And right now you're in that safe mode. Use the word safe in multiple ways. You're in the safe mode, but in this safe, this vault, you're comfortable, you're protected, right? What have I said before? That's your ego, as long as your ego's not like hurt, right? But in the safe, when you unlock it, that you turn the wheel, just like the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot deck. It's like the Mandela effect. Everything's connected. It changes the direction that your life goes. It finally brings you to a place where you can size things up. You can make a decision. You don't know for sure, but it does bring you confidence in actually being able to make a decision. You align yourself with whatever that decision is. Then as you go along the path, you learn whether that decision was a learning experience and more challenging, and you have to turn around and come back and try again, or whether you are going to ascend and have growth moments and learning opportunities and more opportunities to life. But for right now, it's hanging in this limbo state. There needs to be a decision that's made. And this could be about, are you going to sabotage this opportunity? So let's look at the opportunity that's being given right now. So this could be past things you believed about yourself. This Mercury 6th house, which is the house of health, maybe mental health, discussing with somebody challenges that you might be going through, depression, post-traumatic stress that has really altered your way of thinking about yourself and about others and maybe about your situation. Counseling and therapy. I have a phone number on my bio part of my channel that talks about mental health, because I believe in it so much, and I believe that we need to focus on it in the world more. It's just as important as physical health, but we don't, unfortunately. I mean, I did my whole internship in mental health, in psych. It's not talked about enough. It's such a stereotyped topic of conversation. There's so much heaviness with it that needs to change, because I don't care who you are. Every single person, I believe, has some type of mental challenges at some point in their life that they deal with maybe differently than somebody else, but that they have to address and deal with. Anyways, there's a phone number. If you ever get to a point where you need to talk with somebody or it's too heavy, I specifically put information on there for those who need help and don't know where to find it. Moving forward, we're talking about with 6, what is this self-sabotage that my viewers might be contemplating right now? What is the situation or the person that they're here for? What is this in regards to? Oh, awakening. Isn't that funny? I was talking about awakenings and more of those awakenings, and I just had one, right? This reflection. It could be reflection of returning to something that is unfinished business, because let's see what's crossing that. Oh, look at that. 6 of Wands. Victory. I talked about that. Victory, triumph, in other words. Maybe your person is worried about how somebody perceives them, but they want to change that. That's that combination sound. I don't know why I keep doing that, but I mean, that's what's coming to my mind. So I'm going to tell you what comes to my mind. It's that unlocking, right? And you or your person are concerned about whether there's going to be a victory on this judgment that's already been made about them if they do speak up, because right now they're comfortable. It's just their ego maybe hasn't been hurt yet, if it's going to be hurt at all. So tell me more about this. 6, you guys, 6 of Cups. You're watching me. You're watching me shuffle. Okay, we have a 6 and a 6 and a 6. Look up, okay? After this read, look up, or while you're watching this read, look up 666 angel number. Google that number, and that's going to tell you something that pertains to this read of what maybe you were thinking about that needs to change in your life that you know about, and it's going to give you some guidance from the universe. 666 666. Okay, so there's some memories or nostalgia of maybe a past time that helped your person grow, that your person thinks about, or this could be you. There was something or somebody in the past who was a proponent. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you too. The reel that popped up was talking about filtering out those who clap when you fall. To me, is just so absolutely vicious of people to do, to want somebody else to fail just so that they can feel more powerful. We're all connected. Going back to my other many reads, I talked about it just like AI. When I learn something and grow, that means energetically the collective does. So wouldn't you want everybody to learn from mistakes, failures, downfalls, challenges, hitting rock bottom? Wouldn't you want them to learn and grow? Because guess what, us selfish humans, we grow from that. We get the benefit of that. So we should be helping one another, showing people, using our creativity to build one another, our communities, our families. It's the ego that gets all messed up and worried about judgment that causes power trips, greed, money, this perception that all those things are going to fix the problems. They're not going to fix the problems. In fact, a lot of times they make them worse. Tell me about this memories. What's the bridge between the Six of Cups and the Six of Wands? Just tell you if I get another 6. Okay, so Two of Swords, which is the same thing as this weighing options. You know, stalemate, stuck. We talked about stalemate, right? Denial. There's a difficult choice here that is, oh, and look at that. That looks like the devil. So it could be toxicity. It could be, here, see, that looks like the devil. It could be toxicities or coping mechanisms, the way that people choose to deal with, and it could be through denial that somebody has chosen to ignore. But in this current energy, like I mentioned, it is about us not being, it's the unseen that we can't unsee anymore. We know we have to change. We know we have to address for justice. Okay, so Libra is justice energy, consequences, karma, and that could be a real, it's like, it reminds me of little kids. When they know they're going to get in trouble, they're very shy about either coming forward or they lie. This fear that's placed in them because of devil energy, because fear is devil energy, and this lower vibration, this fear of coming forward because of the consequences and the karma. What they don't know is this is going to happen regardless. This is a major arcana. This is a major arcana. Judgment and justice in the same line, that's what is causing this teeter-totter. It's this teeter-totter? Yes, this teeter-totter. I was thinking toddler. This energy that is trying to grow but is afraid of potentially what will happen. So what is it that I'm going to switch decks here. I have my other one. So what is it that the viewer or the person that they're here for, what are they afraid of? What consequences are they afraid of, or karma? What's causing this holding back? I mean, obviously with their energy, this is leading towards. Oh, so, okay. So maybe it's not as far back or in the past as I thought, because maybe, you know what this tells me? Somebody here, you or your person, take it how it's connected. Somebody is afraid of moving forward, of moving things, moving through what's gonna happen, whether it's through decision and your own decisions, and you're being given this opportunity to make the decision, right? Because if it's not made, then you'll just see a tower happen. A tower will come about and cause a lot more destruction than you actually making a decision and just working through the karma and consequences. Sorry about that noise. But the reason that they're so afraid of this justice coming forward or judgment coming forward is because it's going to force them to look within, and maybe that's something that they haven't done. So approach life with a sense of wonder, stay open to imaginative insights and ideas. So if they bring, that's an apology. What are they worried about? What are they worried about that this apology or coming forward to express truths? What is that gonna? So what's crossing that? That you won't be, maybe they did some things in the past that are not acceptable to you, that really hurt you, that betrayed you. They're not sure if you have forgiven them, if you have, this loss of innocence and compassion. They're wondering if that's where you sit. And within this, which would be justice, a just place, would be justice they believe that it's justice for you not to forgive them for what has happened. And they're trying to size up because they feel like this is lost, they don't know the reaction that they will get from you. And so moving forward, they want this victory over the way that you see them. This is how they don't want you to see them in a certain way. They don't want you to see them as small. I guess this energy of they feel small in themselves, and it's because of the choices that they made. But what they don't understand is when there's a change of perception, it unlocks, and that sound that I won't make again because it probably drives you crazy, but it unlocks a confidence in, if they can perceive that this situation happened for a reason, which that reason was to teach them certain things that they couldn't have been taught otherwise, or other places that they have been, or with other jobs or with other relationships. And this could be you. If they can change that perception, it's not as self-sabotaging, as self-harming, and not necessarily in the physical sense, but just in this worthless state, they could perceive it differently. If they perceived it as it was a and say to themselves, okay, I went this direction, I chose this, given all the tools that I had at that moment, including maybe not listening to my intuition. It maybe didn't end up the way that I thought it would end up. Now I'm feeling guilty about whatever. I hurt some people. There's been some loss and grief. It didn't end up the way that I wanted. But out of all of that, why, it's this inner look that maybe they're afraid to look at. Why is it that I didn't listen to my intuition? Why is it that I lost? Why is it that there was grief and sadness in going this direction? What was it about that choice, that decision, that path that I took that created the situation I'm in now? And they could be in a mess in a current situation with a job, something that happened that they're trying to clean up, right? We just talked about cleanup at the very beginning of this read. It is cleaning up the thought processes. It's cleaning up the perception. I talked about perception. Do you see how all this is connecting? And trust me, this is not me who's connecting this. This is universe. Their perception is being cleaned up about why all this happened, where it led them, what happened with it. And in the lessons that are being learned that unlock and turn and teach them, it's going to be either a path to repeat everything they did before, which means there is not justice and they won't have a victory in this judgment. They won't see themselves any different. It appears like, or it seems like that's what happened before because of this loss. Somebody got burned before. So right now they're being given an opportunity to size up exactly what happened, weigh the options that they have before them. They're able to unlock where they're safe, take a leap of faith, learn something, and use the lessons from the past. That's the justice, which balance out. They pay their karma, they pay the consequences of whatever happens, but then they just choose to deal with that. And maybe that's what they're doing right now, cleaning up what they chose and making a different decision to go a different way. But right now it's still in this, what are they going to do? And if potentially they don't self-sabotage. So let's look at the self-sabotage real quick. Tell me about this introverted, what might take place with this, with either my viewer or the person that they're here for. Moving forward, like what would come out of this? And that is obviously like the self-sabotage, maybe getting out of a place that they feel controlled, even if it's in their own head, right? Starseed, so old soul with deep spiritual wisdom, here to evolve spiritually important mission in life. Give me another one. Looking within, what's going to potentially come of this? So shining, now this could be, if this is for you, shining your own light through creativity, helping the collective, humanitarian work, using your creations helps you ascend, and it builds the ascension of the collective, right? I talked about we're all connected, just like AI, learning from not one, but from all. And then victorious, beating your competition, your enemies, overcoming obstacles. So when you or they can figure out how important they are to this mission called life and find within them how important they are, it's going to be victorious. It's going to help them overcome and learn what maybe not only all of this in the past, but it changes the values, it changes the downloads, it changes the perception. And when you can change the perception, it changes everything, right? Human consciousness or our thoughts cause particles to change. In physics, undermines the everyday intuition that physical objects must always possess simple, definite, classic properties independent of how they're measured. At the quantum scale, what we can observe, or what can be observed, depends ultimately on the interaction between the system and the measurement being performed, which in essence talks about the observer changes reality. And that's what I was talking about. The way that we perceive things changes the definition, or can change the definition of them, which thus supports when it is talked about the observer can change their own reality. That human perception creates your reality. You create your own story. You create your own Truman Show, right? But the Truman part of it is if you can change the perception, which is the part that's in your mind, if you can change that and see things differently. I saw a video of where it was that 66-year-old who turned into a 6-year-old when he put on those glasses and he could see color. I know you guys have probably all seen that video. It's emotionally drawing. It made me think of how blessed I am. When you sit around and you think about all the things you don't have, the more and more those things play out and become what's filmed in your Truman Show, in your day-to-day. But it is ultimately the writer, director, and producer of that is in your mind, right? Because of the perception and the perceived reality that you are not receiving what you are wanting. When in true reality, when you change that perception, everything you want, you actually have already had or have. And I'm going to give you an example. You want millions of dollars. And I gave an example that I just made up. You've got two people sitting here and neither of them have $1 million in the bank. Which one's a millionaire? The one that was a millionaire was the one who perceived themselves to be a millionaire. And the way they supported that is because every breath they took, because life is priceless, every emotion they had, every good feeling, every happy holiday, every good feeling video that they cried at, every bite of delicious food that they got to taste and experience. Every job they had that did bring in money every year, every experience, every place they've been able to go to, every event, every taking your first steps as a toddler, right? Taking your first breath as a human being on this earth, experiencing water, experiencing swimming, experiencing fire, everything. When you look at it that way, you accumulate all of that. And what would somebody pay for all of that? And what does that mean in terms of abundance and prosperity? Way beyond millions of dollars. And so we all are millionaires just because we don't have, maybe we are not running the scene in our movie right now where we're learning lessons about money and we have millions of dollars in our bank account. We're learning a different lesson about maybe the way we perceive things. Today we're filming the scene about perception and about perceiving things. You might get to a point where you have $1 million in your bank account, and at that point you're going to run a scene in your Truman Show, in your own movie that deals with lessons and the law of opposite, both sides of the spectrum, where you're going to find the joys and the positives of having that kind of money in the bank, and also the negatives and the challenges. And subconsciously you'll put together a scene that's being filmed in regards to those lessons that need to be learned. Bringing it back to this, my point is that through this perception, and knowing that when you change your perception, it can change your entire life. You are creating your reality based on your perception. When they can do that as well, and through this opportunity, through this weighing options and choosing, making a choice, going a certain direction, it's going to end up bringing to them, this is supposed to be like this, bringing the opportunity to see things potentially in a totally different way, see their importance in life, see how blessed they are. I mean, you could go just absolutely crazy, because it's every single particle on this earth, every single thing on this earth that you could be grateful for in some way, even if it is negative. When you perceive it differently, and you perceive it as being there to help you in some way, whether that's help you grow, help you learn, help you in just surviving or assisting you, everything becomes something that you're grateful for. And so moving to that perception, not only does it change your life, because what happens in a real tangible 3D way is when you are thankful for something in your life, it raises your vibration as much as loving something. And that love is the highest vibration. When your vibration rises, that's ascension, that's learning and growing, and being thankful for something is as high vibrating as love. So being grateful for something, instead of being all like Debbie Downer, no offense to the name Debbie, but Debbie Downer about it, instead of being low vibration and pulling down your vibration, when you ascend and you grow your vibration, that actually opens doors to opportunities that you wouldn't have had before. And it's a domino effect. So then you take that opportunity and you're grateful for it, and a lot of success comes from it. If that's the perception that you perceive it as, it opens another door, and you continue to just grow and grow and grow. And that is the importance of why creativity and following your passion is so important, is because those are perceived successes. When you turn this from low vibration to high vibration, it builds your confidence. When you build your confidence, you build the collective's confidence. I have these cards sitting here underneath my table like this, and I accidentally knocked them off and grabbed them while I was talking and put them back together. But as I look further under the table, these guys, now there's a lot of them, but this is staring at me. I'm going with this one because this is the one I saw. This is the one that's staring at me. Look at this, alchemized energy. Because I went to go get a card for our final advice from the universe. I'm telling you, if you guys start paying attention to the things that happen around you, you're going to be in awe of holy shit. The synchronicities, I am obsessed with synchronicities. They just blow me away. It's like we've been lied to all our lives to not stop and pay attention to how exactly everything is connected. So when those cards fell, I did not touch them except to gather the ones that I saw. I didn't see these under the table, but then as I backed up to get you guys a message to lay out from the universe, this is staring at me. That's intuition. That right there is eye-opened. Right? Seeing things for what they are. Look at perception, seeing things. Didn't I start this read out saying this is perception? It is all perception in your Truman Show. Cycles don't break by force. They unravel through awareness. What you feed with your thoughts, reaction, and energy grows. I don't even think I've ever seen this card in this deck. What you feed with your thoughts, reactions, and energy grows. Well, what you starve begins to fade. If you're tired of the same emotional loops, patterns, or returning characters, oh my gosh. Did I not talk about NPCs and the characters in your movie? Pause, witness without reacting. Allow awareness to be a disrupting catalyst of change-fueled liberation, freedom. Chains of balance, change of justice. You guys, all of this connected right in front of you. You are creating your scene that you are going to record every single day. So if your movie and scene 564 Okay, what does that add up to? I just pulled that number out of nowhere. What is that? 11, 4. Okay, 11 and 4 is 15, and 15 is 6. Oh my God. You guys, 6. 6. We talked about 6. OMG. It's like happening right in front of you on this read. I hope you guys are getting it because I can't be more excited about this. Okay, scene 564. Is that what I told you? Yes, 564. I don't know where that number came from, but it just came. Scene 564. If that scene right there sucks because of the way that you perceive your life and the characters you're putting in it and the roles you're giving those characters, then that's the scene you are choosing for your Truman Show that moment. Not to say that every scene has to be good, but in that scene 564, guess what? With that 6, you can have a victory in that scene. And if it's really shitty in that scene, you can move forward. And it is through the way that you perceive things. I couldn't have put this read together more incredibly than the way that it came together. I am simply a channel to give it to you. I hope that you guys can maybe take this and at least, even if it's careful watching from far away or behind, you can see the point of it and you can integrate it somehow in your life. Every read I give certainly helps me plant seeds for me to think about as well. I told you I'm a little ahead of the collective, at least the collective that I'm supposed to be helping. And when I say ahead, it just means that I'm experiencing things beforehand so that I can understand them, so I can bring them to you. So how you perceive your Truman Show is the life and the reality that you will receive. Have a good day.